Yawatupani Enchamukinila kayo Kashtu. Welcome to this session of the Maya Cosmology course. We are on the fourth module, seeing the 20 Kihab, the 20 day signs. We are going to continue today with the Kat sign. It's pronounced Kat. In Quiche-Maya, Yucatec is Can. In Nahuatl, it's Quetzpalin. And it's the first of the earth signs in the essential orientation, the essential element. It does get another placement, which we will see later on. So we were left off in this story of creation and on this story of the process of the universe with the Dark Night, with Akabal. We were left there, this first portal of action that occurs in the universe where our dreams occur. Then we're going to see the product of that, the first product, the first consciousness that is born in the universe is the cat, is the web. So this sign is as important as any other sign. It's as valuable and should be as cherished and honored as any other sign. There's a lot to learn from each one of the signs. I've said that we all have each one of the signs. We all need to learn from each one of the Nahuals, if you want to call them, like the Quiche-Maya call them, or the Nahualc-Ich, or the Nahualc-Ihab, if we pluralize it. But this sign is superficially, by the priests, by the Maya Ihab, considered maybe the most negative of all the signs. The worst sign, if you want to mention it superficially. And we will understand why. Now, I do want to make this clear that I do say superficially because it's really a superficial estimation. We have to understand that it's a crucial part of the process of the universe, and I want to present it as that. So this is the first product, the first consciousness, and for this reason, it's related to the corn seed, or the corn in general, the corn plant. Corn as a staple food, corn as the main element from which this humanity, according to the Popol Vuh, was created. Earlier humanities were created from mud, and that didn't work for the gods because that would lead people to forget about the gods or their creators. So they, in the newer creation, after humans suffer an apocalypse or some type of deluge or some type of crisis, it's remade, and there are different stories that tell a similar thing. The humanity is remade, and this time it is made from corn dough. Okay? So in Maya and Mesoamerican worldview, cosmology, the corn plant, it's a very crucial element in the worldview. It's a very crucial element it's the most staple, most basic thing that we eat. It's almost like what we eat. Everything else is complementary to the corn. So the main thing that you need to grow, that you want to eat, is corn. I think I did talk about this in earlier modules where I explained the whole ways that corn is grown and it's enriched with minerals it lacks and how it becomes part of a very rich diet that is mostly even vegan. It's not really vegan because they do eat some animals, but it's not very strongly reliant. A typical Mesoamerican diet doesn't rely strongly on animal meat. Very different from, for example, the Andeans, where a very staple, or even the Amazon, the staple food of the Amazon people is fish. Some say it would be mandioca, it would be yuca. Yeah, that's the main carb they eat, but the real staple spirit, because we have to understand that the main thing that we eat becomes our spirit, it becomes us. So for the Amazon people, it's fish. So it determines where people settle, where people live. And the fish is the main determinant on most of Amazonian tribes and peoples and nations. In the case of Mesoamerican, even though corn is found in, and it can be said it's also from South America, and there's some investigations that try to prove that it's really from Central South America, from Bolivia, where it came from. Of course, that's not going to be of the liking to Mexicans, but there's that debate. There's that where did this originate debate. It's always between Mexico and Bolivia in terms of regarding two things, corn and chili chili peppers. Like there's investigators that claim that it was originated here, and there's investigators that claim it was originated in Bolivia. And in Bolivia you will find species of corn that are not found here, and it's as ancient as anything over there too. But for some reason it's not as important. It is really important, but not as important as here in North and Central America. And if you look at the way people live, it's even bigger, right? It really is the center of it all, the corn. So in that sense, this sign represents that. It represents the main food, the main thing that we are going to eat, the main product of the universe that gives us. So we saw that each one of the elements is a different process in the universe, where we begun with the fire being the intention that then matures and acquires a mind, a spirit, a language, and then it goes into its first action, manifestation. But curiously, this action is kind of a weird realm, because what we actually see and think and experience and remember, the actual food from this process, the actual product, seed, flower of this process, is the earth element, the last element. And this is the first sign of that element. So we always just speak from our memories, from our consciousness, from this element. Now, we are going through the first most primordial of the elements, of the signs that represents the elements. So right now everything's very raw, it's very primary. So just like the last three signs, this is the most primordial and raw and less developed, less complex of the earth signs, of the earth energies. And that's why maybe it's considered an entangled type of consciousness where everything is mixed and it creates a web. It's like the first web that catches consciousness. So consciousness here, it's not shining yet. It's not. It hasn't acquired, like you would see in the last consciousness sign, a human spirit, a human consciousness, a Christian, in the sense of an avataric consciousness, a Christ consciousness, or a consciousness that we are beings that are the key point that connects sky and earth. Hence, everything that exists in this world is fed by the light that we shine on it. Our attention, our consciousness of the world, it structures the world, it creates the world. So whatever we perceive is going to happen. Whatever, as we describe the reality, the world that we live in, and we describe rules and laws to that reality, we create those laws. Matter, if you want to call it, responds to our consciousness and to what we determine of it. But that's something that we would be saying from the Ahpuk consciousness, the elevated, complex, developed consciousness. At this point, consciousness is yet maybe not even conscious of itself. It's still very raw. It's still very basic. So how does this manifest in the days and in people? Okay. So first, let's go with the Abawil. Now I remembered. Abawil is the name of the Maya word for the glyph. That's a word in English. I also had it forgotten. Glyph. So we're going to study a little bit the Abawil, both in the Maya and the Mexica versions. And that's why I have this microphone, and so I can turn around and do some of this. Okay, so I want to do this with each one of the signs so that you also begin drawing them, and we will get into drawing in the last module. So I've said before on other signs that I interpret what I see on the signs that hasn't been taught to me, and you can do the same thing. You can try and see what it speaks to you. Okay, so one theory of what this is it would be a corn grain. Now, if we look at a corn grain, like a regular Mexican corn grain, it has kind of this shape. It has this little thingy down here, and it has this indent. This is kind of indented. And for some reason, some writers, and maybe Ahkih, will say that this represents the corn grain, and it really does look like it. Okay? But then we might see other things too. Here. What do you see in this drawing? So to draw it, just draw this middle line right here, kind of like this. And I like to think of it as this is kind of like something that catches, and there's just like a thing coming down from the sky. And we're gonna see this thing where there's like a square and some type of either a line like this, like a band, or sometimes it goes like this. For example, in the eye of the eagle sign, that's how the eye looks like. And I like to see that as some type of energy that is descending from above. It's like a channel. And I guess the eagle is different because the eagle is, it would be kind of like the antithesis of this sign. The eagle is maybe one of the most sharpest, clearest of all the signs, of all the personalities, of all the energies. And cat is not. Cat is really not a clear-minded sign. It's just it's kind of like, maybe we can call it the subconscious. This part of the consciousness that is really not still very self-aware. It just kind of traps things. It just kind of understands things from a non-visual way. It just kind of acts and reacts to things without really going through a complex logical process or language process. So this maybe represents that energy that comes from above, and it's being caught by this kind of indentment. Sometimes you can see this. So these are different ways that you can draw the cat sign. Okay. So I don't go into drawing the Mexica versions because you're going to love the Maya versions because they're all in a square, so they're really easy to draw. When you go into the Mexica, they're not bound by a square or a rounded corner square. And it takes a lot more practice to draw. But in the Mexica, what you see there and here, and let me point it to you. Let me get my laser pointer. So this, what you see here is a lizard, a small lizard, a lagartija in Spanish, one of those, it can be any type of very small lizard. And that's the meaning of Quetzalin. Quetzalin, that's a lizard, that's a small lizard. Does anybody know a word for like lizards too common? Is there like a word in English for the very small lizard, or it's just lizard? I don't know. Because in Spanish you can say, if you say lagarto, people are going to think a large lizard, right? But in English, it doesn't specify. So in Spanish and in Nahuatl, it does specify it's one of the small ones. And then gecko, yeah, would be one of those type of lizards. But then there's many other types of lizards that are not geckos, and I think they are included in the Quetzalin category. So somehow it comes before the snake, and I don't want to go into that. I feel like going into that debate inside of me and thinking that reflection of why does the lizard come before the snake, but let's not get into that. Sometimes this symbol works better to understand the general concept. So Serena says in English it's just lizard, yeah. You have to modify it by saying smaller or larger or whatever, yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. What do we expect on a lizard day, on a corn day, on a cat day? Now, cat is interpreted as web, okay? And that includes, so the web is a very important symbol and tool that was used by Mesoamerican people, used for things that you wouldn't even imagine. The most common use that you can think is a fishing web, and they do use fishing webs. They throw atarraya, this thing that you throw and you catch fish with. But then there's also webs. If you travel to the Maya lands, you will see people carrying things inside of like a web type of bag. And then at Uyup in the Lacandon Maya, it's a dream catcher. This is interesting. They make dream catchers and they recognize if somebody takes a dream catcher to them and they're like, oh, Uyup. And they'll say, the first thing they'll say, we don't use them to dream catch. We use them to store our food. Because what they do is they put it horizontally and they tie it to the roof. And then that webbing that's created in the middle, it's really good to put vegetables in. And it's amazing because then the vegetables don't get moisty underneath. There's no like solid thing. It can breathe. And then it's hanging, so it's free away from the ants and away from other insects or animals that might want to eat it. And then if you go to the Yucatan Peninsula, you will find a lot of hammocks, and you will find that the hammock is a big thing. It's a really big thing. It's such a big thing in the peninsula that all houses are fitted with hammock hangers on the walls. That's something that a really distinct thing that you will find in the Yucatan Peninsula in every single house, be it old or new, and that you will never find in houses in other parts of Mexico. That's one of them. And people in the Yucatan, even people that are not really Maya, if you want to think of them as mixed or something, that they don't speak Maya, they're just modern people, they still, because of their ways, sleep in hammocks. Even if they're people with resources, they could have a very expensive mattress. Of course, the weather in the peninsula is very hot. It likes to be around 40 degrees, 42 degrees Celsius. That's like the normal temperature, and that's the hottest part of the day. So a hammock is really a good way to sleep and not get, to be able to sleep and not get like hot. So it's very much present, the web, in Mayan culture, and maybe even more in Mayan specifically than other Mesoamerican cultures. That's why in other Mesoamerican cultures, like the Mexica, it's a different symbol. It's a lizard, and for the Mayas, it's a web. At least the name cat means web. So a web is really good because it catches things. So this is a very necessary part of the consciousness, where, hey, even if you're not understanding something, at least you're catching it somehow. You're going to be. We have this Nahual, everyone, and it's everywhere, where we don't need to really consciously be able to teach something. I understand that when you're able to teach something, it's because you really understand it. And that's the best way to make yourself understand something, is try to teach it to your grandmother. If you can explain something to your grandmother, then you understand it. But that's kind of in the kind of cortex understanding. Let's allow ourselves to think that we have a very much lower type of understanding, where we kind of just catch it, but we can't really elaborate. We can't really explain it, but we can somehow catch onto it or catch it. So that's what this consciousness is. This is where that consciousness happens. This is that level of this consciousness, because this is a consciousness sign. Remember that earth signs are consciousness signs, which also represents flowers and represents seeds. Seeds then also as a symbol of memory, of something that can seed the cycle again. Okay, so this is the first time when we start getting this, we start understanding this. We understand that from this process that we went through of the first three signs, we need to get some type of a product, some type of a consciousness that at least packs all the information that it needs so that it can be grown again. It can go again into the cycle again. And all life has this. All life is born, grows, and then dies, and then reproduces. It leaves its seed so that can be reproduced. And this is what this represents. So a cat day, how does a cat day manifest? Now, before I get into that, I forgot to say can is one of the different words that there is for corn in Peninsular Maya. So can, corn. But it also represents, it's also the word for yellow, the color yellow. Can. Okay? Now, that's with a one A, because if you go can, then you're saying snake. So it's can, not can. Different word. Okay, so how does a day of cat manifest? Well, as a superficial expectation, something that you can expect and you can be aware of, is being caught in a problem. And this sign represents, so the web catches everything. It catches the good and it catches the bad. And many times cat days are there for us to either get caught in a problem or for us to learn, because that's the development of this sign, of this Nahual, is to learn how to detangle yourself, to learn how to understand things, that process of where you get something, but you don't really get it. It's not untangled. You get it in a tangled way. So you want to start untangling it. You want to start understanding it. And I invite you to do this with everything and anything. Just anything any new piece of information you're given, try to untangle it. Try to take its pieces out and analyze it and think of it. Okay. And for example, Gordon is an amazing teacher of this. He will learn something from a culture. He will learn some type of magic or some shamanic wisdom, and he will, by himself, try to make sense of it and compare it to other things instead of just repeating it. So he's one of the best persons that I know that untangles consciousness, untangles understanding, untangles information. And that's the lesson and the development. Remember that signs are also a destiny sign. It's something that we are here to develop, something that we are here to learn. So that's what this sign, and hence this person, a person of the cat sign, would be doing throughout his life. What is his destiny, right? What is the destiny of a cat person? Well, you can say and you can predict somebody of a cat sign that he or she will be caught in different stories and problems. And then, of course, you can see and predict that that person has many times, until they have developed that. If they haven't developed that, you can totally predict that they are very nosy. They are very bad at not tangling themselves in other people's business. They are very, very nosy. They like, people of cat signs, they like to go into other people's business. And not just business, because I've experienced, I have cat as one of my hemispheres. So I get a lot of cat persons coming to me. And I've had relationships with cat women, and even though I'm superficially taught to avoid cat people, and sometimes I just avoid people. I will find somebody that is cat sign, and I will think superficially, oh, I don't want to get into that person. That's just trouble. That's also a superficial thing that you can say for that date. Oh, this day is trouble. I actually don't travel on cat days. I avoid at all cost traveling on a cat day. If you travel on a cat day, I'm trying to do the glottal apostrophe, you can expect some kind of trouble, some kind of the bus broke down, the plane got delayed, whatever thing you want to avoid. As a general rule, now it will happen, and you will see that sometimes situations that coming at days, I mean, you can't just skip a day, you have to live it, are unavoidable. You are unavoidably caught in that. And not all of the time this is the case where it's a problem that you're caught in. It is also, this web also catches the food, okay? So one of the real positive traits of people in this sign is that they might get into trouble really easy. They might be a type of intelligence where they have trouble untangling things and understanding things. I mean, it's by no means the sign of Gordon. And you will see that Tihash, since it has it on its one of its hemispheres, then Tihash is the untangling element that helps untangle things. It's like the knife is what cuts the web, okay, and what can untangle things and explain things. So let's adjust to the light. So there's a really positive side, and you will find days of the cat sign where you unavoidably get caught in some type of a deal, and some type of and that's a good thing when it's a deal. Now, always beware, if you're making a deal, this is a very good advice. If you're making a deal, it's very common that for some reason, it will happen on a cat day, okay? So like, let's say you were trying to get this job, let's say, and so the interview, they schedule it and it turns out it's a cat day. That is saying a lot, okay? That is saying you're gonna be caught in this. Now, you have to use your discernment and really think about it. Am I gonna be caught in something I want or something I don't want? It can be both things. It can be a way that you're caught in a really good thing, in something that's going to bring you money or food, okay? Sometimes that has its price and you don't want, sometimes you might not want it in reality, but then you need the food, so then accept it. Go ahead and do it. It's a good sign. But you can use your discernment and use this knowledge of the Cholkij to detect something that, no, I really don't want to be caught in this. I don't want this to happen. I don't want to be entangled in this. I don't want to. And you can use this as a sign. If it's happening on a day of cat, you want to, sometimes it's a sign to avoid it, to really not go into it. And you can use this and predict and see what they, if they already scheduled your appointment, go ahead and call and say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested anymore. You advanced yourself to that, to not getting tangled into that. So you're going to find that relationship with cat. You're going to find that you're unavoidably caught in situations with people and with things that will bring you good things on a cat day, and you will be unavoidably caught sometimes in things that just brings you trouble. But then, of course, you can't avoid that all your life. You can use this. I mean, it does give you a certain power having the knowledge of this so that you can avoid troubles. I have avoided troubles by knowing this and by not getting involved in situations that come in at day, or by not getting involved. Maybe you're kind of, some type of a good sign, or I don't know, like a person of a cat thing is bringing you something, and you already have a suspicion that it's not really what you want, or that there might be some trick behind it. And if that person is a cat, then you can just, I've done really well avoiding people and days or situations on cat days, and it's been good. I like the way I avoid trouble. I'm really happy with how good I am at avoiding trouble. It will come one day, and it happened to me, like after years and years of just not ever having any type of problem or situation with anything, specifically police, right? It happened to me one day where just the ingredients were made, and I got distracted, and I was getting bothered by corrupt police. But it wasn't a cat day. It wasn't. So that means that, you can't avoid all the time. It will happen once every 10 years that you get caught in some type of bad situation, right? But if we learn to untangle, if we learn to have a good relationship, if we learn to honor this energy and this sign, have a good relationship with it, and know when and when not to get entangled with it, then you're gonna be doing very good. I've been doing amazing at not getting into trouble, thanks to this knowledge. So then this sign also sometimes takes that archetype or that symbol of the troublemaker or the trouble bringer, and that's something you need to know, and you need to treat it like that and understand that, well, somebody needs to bring the trouble, something needs to, and sometimes we need to grow by means of getting into problems. We need to get stronger. If we don't have problems, and we can get into a discussion that goes outside of Mesoamerican cosmology, that touches all cultures, it's very universal, though this is not just strictly Mesoamerican. I believe this is an ancient culture or ancient humanity inheritance of not or code. But even without it, we have to understand that life brings us growth. And sometimes that growth comes by means of something that is going to force us to grow and to solve things. And that is a prize. That is a gift, because that's what makes us grow. And we're here to grow, and we need to grow. And life will put us into situations of growth. Okay, so people of this sign are nosy. People of this sign sometimes are very confused. People of this sign, they are attracted to trouble. It's really interesting. Now, put into perspective the scope of and I say this with every sign, there's people that are more evolved and people that are less evolved. If you want to see it as they've been here more lives, they're older souls. You can see it or speak it that way. So older souls, more evolved souls with this sign, though I haven't found really many, will actually be a real important light and bring you that light of wow, of understanding, because they've gone through the process of evolving, of detangling their consciousness, of overcoming their nature of wanting to get entangled in things. They've learned from their Nahual, and they no longer get into situations. And they're the best teachers on how to avoid troubles and situations, but at the same time, they have all the charisma and all the good things that anyone from this sign has. So this people from this sign, even if they are younger souls, if you want to call it that, hence they get very confused and get into trouble and are attracted to problematic people and to problematic situations and somehow want to experience that. And that's good, and it's part of everyone, and we all should go through that. We all should go through wanting to, we really want, at least a few times in our lives, we want to get into trouble to see what it's like, right? We want to have that experience. A person of this sign that is a young soul or a young person will be like that, will be actively looking for trouble and getting into trouble. Now, on the other side, they have really two huge positive attributes. One is their charisma and their some type of magneticism, or they're very magnetic. You're just unavoidably attracted to them, and that has happened to me. I've seen cat women, and I'm like, I shouldn't get involved with her. Not just because I'm judging her by the sign, but because I'm getting to know her. I'm not being prejudiced, so I'm getting to know her, but I'm seeing the sign. I'm seeing that, oh man, this girl is really confused. This girl is not that positive in so many things. She is kind of negative. She is kind of, she does attract negative things. I don't want this. But then I'm just unavoidably physically or sexually attracted to her. And I'm like, damn, how do you, maybe having signs of a very sexually awake energy, that that to me weighs on the balance, right? Me being attracted physically to someone can make me continue against my own consciousness of don't get involved with her. And that's one of the powers that they have. They are very, very, very attractive people most of the time. Very attractive. Serious, like run away. Yeah. I'm not caught right now with any cat person, so I guess I did run away. But here's the other thing. Cat people, with all the bad things you can say, they have, with that magnetism, an amazing power to catch money, food, attention, whatever it is. That is something that we all need. We all need food, right? So we all need, so I guess this sign also explains why, even if we know it's bad, we get jobs. Even if we don't like it as much, we get into things because, come on, bring it down to earth. We need the money, or we need the food. We need it. And I guess there is an exchange in that sense where, and there is that very raw consciousness of, hey, and it's very much of this sign. Is Oh, come on! Don't try to be so illuminated, and you need to fucking eat. Get that job. I mean, stop being a picky or I mean, and in Latin America, we can't get that. We can't get that picky. We don't have as many economic opportunities and etc. So we need to sometimes just do crappy things for money or for food. And there is a good in that. There is, I guess this Nahual would kind of bless that and say, that's okay, it's not that bad. And you can untangle from this. So get that, do that, even if it's not the best end result. Go through that process. We're going through the fourth sign. We have a long ways to get to Ahpu, to get to the signs that are like, wow, like everything's like super illuminated spiritual. Here where it's still kind of, it's what's after the about, and I said that they're the 2 days that sometimes I fear the most. Is the, but then that can bring the best blessings too. So I guess that the day I get a donation for all the projects that I'm carrying, if it comes on a cat day, it's a good sign. If it comes from a cat person, it's a good sign. It means that is coming, and it took me a while to make that discernment and to honor, because it's the easiest thing is to fall into just point a finger at cat and say, oh, you're the bringer of trouble, I'm just going to avoid you all the time. And no, we really need to bring a more mature look into it and find and attract and sometimes get caught in things because we need the food. We need to get caught sometimes. Maybe this describes how Amazonian, some peoples in first contact in the Amazon haven't been Christianized, haven't been colonized. If you look at how the ways they are, there's the Ekwe is a shaman in the Amazon tribe. And he gets honor, he gets respect, he gets pride from being, because he becomes then the leader and the guide of the whole tribe. Nobody wants, it's really the opposite way as in what would happen in maybe the modern world, where everybody wants to have a greater, more authority, more leadership. Everybody wants to climb on the ladder. Well, in free people world and people that live absolutely in nature without the rape of the modern world that didn't come to them, nobody wants that, because that's responsibility, and everybody's childlike in that sense. Everybody just wants to be free. Oh, I don't want to be the shaman. That's a whole lot of work. That's a whole lot of responsibility. I'd just rather be free and just play around. But then somebody needs to be the guide, and it is what keeps them alive. I mean, the Ekwe, if it wasn't because of him, that everybody would just childlessly die or get into trouble. That's why they need some type of a wise man, some type of guidance, and somebody that sees that the cycles and that is keeping track of things. So this sign kind of speaks of that, how sometimes you want to avoid that. It's valid to want to just be free. Okay, what else can I say about the cat? They can be wealthy. I've said that. I guess everything has been said. Spider is the other Nahual of this the animal. So where it says Nahuals here, those would be more specifically animals that also represent this sign. Okay, so lizard's one of them, but then spider, the spider woman, or the spider. I've met more spider women than spider man. I didn't know a Maya Lacandon guy who was of this sign. When I first met him, he was the nicest man in the world. And he was the richest man in the world in the sense of he had food in abundance. He had large homes. He had a large family, a beautiful wife, beautiful children. Everybody was healthy. And then the pest came to the Lacandon, and this was around 19. The pest, the pest is money. The Lacandon started receiving more money because they already received some money for keeping the reserve, but they started getting more money. So they were able to afford satellite TV, cars, weapons, and and drugs. And many of them went into that. And this guy was one of them that divorced, left the town, became modern. His kids, even one of his kids died because of drugs. Really sad story. And I got to see it. I got to see the before and the after. And he was all the time trying to get into debt and trying to untangle himself from further trouble he would get into all the time. So not a good sign if you want to follow the modern ways. I guess the modern ways and the modern situation also is easily described by this energy. And I guess in a more proper ambience, civilization or society, a person of this sign does a lot better. And which was what I saw with Ismael. I saw that. Once he had more access to the modern world, I mean, even his kids, one of his kids died. It's really, really sad. And everything was, and you would visit his house and it was all abandoned, and it's really ugly, really ugly. So the modern world doesn't, it is very much described of this, describes this web process, this web Nawal. And people of the web Nawal are unavoidably attracted to this. No, there's, and it's kind of like, like the modernity is that precisely. Is this web that's trying to catch you with, oh, this is really good for you, right? Come and consume this. Come and leave the country. Become modern. Come into the city. Being modern is studying so that you can get a job in the city. That's the web, and there's so much to untangle. And I guess it's one of the main purposes of the Círculo de Medicina, of this project that gathers all of these teachings that I'm gathering and that others are gathering with me, so that we can all untangle from the web, because we all are somehow entangled by this matrix, the bad part of the matrix, or the matrix used as, and I think I cleared this out before, not the matrix of life, but the matrix as the system of social engineering, which is very matrixy, and now it's very webby, and we used to have the internet, and now we have even artificial intelligence that is catching and catching and catching and feeding, and it's like a spider, right? It's creating this web. Maybe this has a purpose. Maybe we can go into profound reflections about this, but we'll leave that for some advanced workshop. And we're done with the cat. Oh, no, we're not. We'll have to see this. Okay. Maya Cross. the conception and the destiny of the Maya, of the K'at sign. So K'at conceives in the Ahmak sign. The Ahmak is the sinner. The Ahmak is that part of consciousness that well, we'll see it when we see the Ahmak, but it describes, how do I say it really briefly? And I guess if I make a pause, it's good for everyone. The Ahmak is the light, the memory, the consciousness that is born when we learn to let go of our troubles, our mistakes, and our bad actions. The destiny sign of the K'at is the ebb, and that represents free will, and it's also the sign of human. It's also sometimes called human. So in this level, they're all three of them are of the same element. As you can see here, they're all harmonic. So the K'at conceives in Ahmak and makes ebb. Ebb is that stage. Ebb comes before. So K'at is the first one. This is in order here. So the first one of the earth elements is up here. The second one here, the K'anil. The third one is ebb. Fourth one is Ahmak, and last one, the fifth one, is Ahpum. So here, the ebb consciousness, human consciousness, is the consciousness that we all are given free will. And that's intentional. The creator consciousness gave us free will and created this web so that we get caught into, and that we practice evil, so that we make mistakes, so that we learn apophatically. But then, of course, we're going to reach higher states of consciousness, and we're not going to reach that higher state of consciousness, which would be represented by Ahpu, until we learn to let go of that, to give that energy back to the great eagle, which is one of the big Toltec exercises that is practiced, and that I'll be starting to teach in the Presential gathering coming in March. By the way, that's coming, and everyone's invited, and it's about time that I need to announce it because of the time, and that I need to start getting confirmations if somebody wants to assist. So there's this exercise where you transmit this sin consciousness back to the creator, so that the creator doesn't take it with your vital energy. So you detach your consciousness from your vital energy, and you give back that consciousness, or you feed that consciousness back to the source, or back to the great eagle, as some Toltecs describe it. And that's how you reach higher states of consciousness, and how you stay alive longer, because you keep your vital energy, and how you overcome trauma, etc. Now, if you see K'at, has it the other way around. So the sin is here, and this is the free will. So just the disposition of these two signs describes the K'at. It's like, wait a minute, you're going the other way around. You're wanting to, you're supposed to be getting out of trouble, not into trouble. And that's somehow described by this disposition. We can then also say that towards infancy, the K'at person is either very attracted to making mistakes, or making, or being, it's like they don't like, they have this idea, and it's very common, even in like the modern, it's like the gangster thing. Nobody wants to be, I don't want to be the super neat looking person, and oh, I'm just good and everything's good and I'm a well-behaved person. That's really unattractive for a lot of young people. They see it as, of course, then it's very complex. They associate it with so many things that are wrong from the system and from societal programming. But then you will see that in them where they just want to look ugly on purpose. They want to, they can be very beautiful, but they'll find ways to get ugly. That's very of the Ahmak sign. It's also an artistic expression. So they'll be trying to be expressive in that sense. And I don't want to be clean. I don't want to be good. I want to look like a bad boy. That's kind of what will happen. And then their life, their destiny is the entanglement, the learning of the two hemispheres. You have the dog on one side, the justice, the morality. You have morality. He has morality right there. Cat person, you have morality right here. Right? So you're a tool of morality. You describe morality. You understand morality. You can be moral or immoral. You have that power. And on the other hand, you have the tihash. You can easily untangle. You can easily break loose if you choose to. But yet, somehow your destiny is not to choose that. You want to go to your destiny, which is live the regular human experiences. You want to be just a human. You don't want to be some elevated spirit or anything like that. You want to be a human. You will, even if you magically attract the wealth of better guidance, of better opportunities, you will let those go to live and experience opportunities and experiences that are more human in the sense of they involve more mistakes and suffering. That's my across for the cat. Now the affinity sign then, the affinity family, then remember the adjectives I like to not give, but give to the signs. This would be the troublesome family. This is the troublesome family. Of all of the four troublesome family, cat is the most troublesome as far as like trouble goes. Of course, they are very powerful. Of the four in the troublesome family, maybe the least troublesome sometimes is the Ish and the Toch. The Ish, they can be, is the magician, is the jaguar, and is a sign of femininity. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Femininity, of being feminine. And that has its good things and it has its bad things. And then the bad things are wanting to go into a cave and just break away, hide things, to put things in the darkness on purpose. A lot of magic is done that way. And we will see that sign. So it has its negative. It can be troublesome. I have met people of Ish that are kind of purposely wanting to be depressed. Like they like being depressed. They like going into this negative state. The Toch, on the other hand, normally is always striving to be really good, always striving to do better, always is very disciplined, a very, very determined person. It's full of intention, full of fire, full of intent, full of heat. Normally very really hot persons are of the Toch sign, like sexually intense or hot in the sense that they have a lot of physicality in their of sexual energy in the physical sense. But they are short-sighted and can become polluted and toxic. Okay, so it is kind of a family in that sense. But I guess these two are seen as the lesser troublesome of the family. Now these two are seen as the more troublesome. As this goes to for days. Okay, so Toch days. Well, I'll say all those things when we get to the Toch days. Not that troublesome, not that bad of a day, but it's not also not like the wowest of days. The Ish day, sometimes it's just waiting day, it's patience day, it's emptiness day, it's silence day. So I like it, but it's not that wow either. And then Kawok, very powerful energy, very powerful sign. But then it's storm, so it can make storm, it gets stormy, and they are seen as the sign of nigromance, the sign of the most powerful sorceress. And yes, you will find people with a lot of power that can be very bad in the Kawok sign, like really bad people are of Kawok sign. So, but then, like my mom is Kawok, she is not really, she's a really good person. But she gets stormy and she sometimes creates storms that has its reason. Remember that nothing is prejudgmentally good or bad. Everything is just part of the universe. So, and very necessary. And we do need that Kawok energy, and we do need that Kawok people, and we do need this family. They are very necessary. But in a superficial adjective way, we can call it the troublesome family. And that, knowing that helps as well. And I guess that's it for Cat. Kayo